So yesterday, Hideaki Itsuno, the director of Dragon's Dogma 2, announced that he would effectively leave Capcom after 30 years of creating games for them. But although hearing these news were sad for both Dragon's Dogma and Devil May Cry fans, I also feel like this might be good for him as a creative director. Back in 2015, Itsuno gave Capcom an ultimatum. Either let him create Devil May Cry 5 or a Dragon's Dogma sequel. If not, he would leave the company. With his solid track record over the years, Capcom granted Itsuno both his wishes and gave him the budget needed to put these projects into life. But that's why Itsuno's exodus from Capcom is so bittersweet for me. You see, Dragon's Dogma 1 never got the proposed budget it was intended to have, because Capcom did not believe in the project from the beginning. Then, during development, they cut the budget and development time further, resulting in the game being rushed and unfinished upon release. Now, most of the people watching this video have come to terms with what the original Dragon's Dogma lacked, but still cherished the game for years like I did. We also had a clear vision of how the complete game should look, and we waited for over 10 years. For Itsuno to eventually and clearly getting stifled by Capcom again is why I'm at this point just glad he's getting out of there and making his own path like Kojima did after Metal Gear Solid 5. But what pains me still is the fact Itsuno never got to redeem Dragon's Dogma 2. His passion project for over 10 years waiting ended before it even started, and even with all the shortcomings of the sequel, the optimization problems, the downgraded enemy variety and combat mechanics, I'm honestly most sad about the fact that his initial vision of the moon concept never came to fruition. Of all the cut content from the first game, it's the lore of the parallel worlds stacked on top of each other sharing the same moon I found so captivating all those years ago. And to really convey my feelings about what Dragon's Dogma could have been, I want to share this video from back in 2016 where Hideaki Itsuno pulls back the curtain for a candid look at the creation of Dragon's Dogma through untold development stories. This GDC talk focuses primarily on the game's original vision and genesis, and I feel that's the best send-off I can give Itsuno, sharing his initial ideas and concepts he was passionate about when creating his first open-world RPG, Dragon's Dogma. Now we need to remember that during this time Itsuno had worked on fast-paced games like Devil May Cry 3 and 4. These were not open world, but he knew how to make great combat games, and it shows in Dragon's Dogma as well. We even have some of Dante's signature moves brought over, and you can see the influence from the DMC universe in many aspects of the game. So combat he definitely knew how to make. But what sets Dragon's Dogma apart from other action RPGs at the time is Itsuno's fascination with an offline-online experience, and thus pawns were created. I can only imagine AI was in its infancy during their development cycle, but Itsuno explains that since he had such lukewarm experiences in the past with online mechanics, he wanted to create something new with Dragon's Dogma, a game where he could experience the company of other players without the hassle that usually involves. And this is where the Dragon's Dogma community gets divided into two groups. You have the purists who believe in Itsuno's vision and don't want any kind of co-op mechanics whatsoever, saying it would ruin the pawn concept. Then you have players that could not understand why they never introduced online functionality, comparing Dragon's Dogma to games like Dark Souls. I'm standing here in the middle, having one foot in each group, since Capcom, under the direction of Kento Kinoshita, created a game that would unite both these factions within the community, Dragon's Dogma Online. Here you could enjoy the company of pawns controlled by AI, but at the same time be able to play co-op with your friends as well. And recently the devs team reviving Didion have made strides when it comes to how much of the game that's actually restored now. The first season now have hundreds of quests working again, and we are finally able to play the game like it functioned back when it was released. On top of that, we actually have a new game mode introduced called Bitter Black Maze. I showcased this earlier this week, so check that out if you're interested. And if you want to try this out for yourself, you can simply download it and play solo or with friends on the public servers. But let's talk about the future of Dragon's Dogma 2. Will there be a DLC? How will the team continue without Itsuno, and when can we even expect to see an expansion for the game? Personally, I strongly believe the DLC have been in development for a while now, and like they did with the Dark Arisen expansion and Dragon's Dogma Online, I believe they will let Kento Kinoshita spearhead this project as well. And honestly, I think it couldn't be in better hands. We are also getting hints over on Steam where they're currently very active, and we see updates for the game getting prepared and tested. Maybe we'll finally get some new info during this year's Tokyo Game Show. The chances for them actually teasing the DLC during this game show is really high, since the Dark Arisen expansion got a trailer during the TGS only 4 months after the first game's release. We are now 6 months after the launch of Dragon's Dogma 2, so it would make sense to get some news soon. Of course, Kinoshita's accolades and involvement in a range of different games over the years gives me faith that the DLC for Dragon's Dogma 2 will be even bigger and better than Dark Arisen, and hopefully brings it to a satisfactory closure like Dark Arisen did for Dragon's Dogma 1.